All right, Rebecca. So here's an issue I've been seeing with agencies, freelancers, contractors, people that I've worked with on my various projects. Invariably, and I'm thinking from the client side for a second, and a ton of our audience at Digital Marketing Kitchen are service professionals like you. You've done so well for so long. Okay, so you got a project. Let me say it from the client side. You engage somebody to do something. You're like, oh, I need to get this done. Okay. You engage a professional services person, freelancer agency. Invariably, I know they're going to have things that require me to do logins. What's your goals? Like basic stuff. A lot of the people I've worked with over the last couple of years, there's typically a big ask in there of the client that usually causes frustration on both sides of the table. And it's an ask like fill out this form or questionnaire, or it's something that makes the client think and stop and go, oh, I thought I was delegating something. This is on my list and they're waiting for me. I've been in a situation where that doesn't feel very well. It's like I'm busy, I'm delegating something. I know I have things I have to get done, but there's things like those big asks that if, and our mutual friend Jen Borna had her on a webinar a couple days ago. She talks about she has a 9-part email for her onboarding that leads up to basically a form, which is kind of her version of the big client ask. I'm curious what your thoughts are about that. How do you handle those things, like with your SEO clients, for instance? There's one thing that is always the frustration point. For web designers, it's getting website content and stuff like that.
Yes. Yeah.
How do you handle those things? Because for the client, it's the overwhelm. And it's the thing that I think goes, well, it's not worth it. At some point, it's not worth it. And I can discontinue whatever work I'm doing with that person because it's just, they put too much work back on me, I guess is the key. How do you handle
Well,
that
the way that
as a consultant?
the way I've typically done it is I chunk it up, right? Like Jen's got her 9 email, flow. So instead of giving someone like a big questionnaire when I have them as a new client for SEO, I give them questions in Basecamp and I'm like, just start filling these out for me. And then by chunking them up, I get actual responses as opposed to I wait for the whole freaking PDF to come in 3 weeks. So I at least can get moving on the questions that they have answered for me and start replying, which keeps them engaged and makes it not feel so overwhelming. I think that's like been a big part of it for me. Same thing, like if you're waiting for content, if you chunk things up for people, it's manageable. If you give them any type of big thing, it is extremely overwhelming. And then I will tell you that I think there's cases where if you can jump in and get things started for them, like here's a framework, here's an outline, here's topics, just things like that, you're giving them that push, which becomes the snowball and they just start rolling right on their own. And it's really a lot of it is just the hurdle of getting started, the client's overwhelmed, I'm like, what can you do to get them going in baby steps, and then giving them that immediate feedback for what they've gotten done to keep that momentum going. There's clients where I've never gotten the answers to stuff and I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to go find it out on my own. And then I'll go, a back way to do it. Even if I have to go to the competitors and say, see, like competitors have X, Y, and Z. Does this apply to you? And then they're like, oh, yes, no, yes. You know what I mean? So that is the approach that I've taken. Because I do not find like the big ass ever going to get done. They're going to sit on it forever because they're overwhelmed.
So I'm hearing chunk it up, take big things, break it down, parse it out to them. I also hear coach them up.
Yeah.
And then the third I hear is what can you do to help them get that little spark? Can you give them an example like your competitor's website example and things like that? I think there's going to be some freelancers, agencies, consultants that listen to this and go like, that's the client's job. But I'm rooting for you, freelancer agency. I'm rooting for the entrepreneur, but you are going to potentially get fired if you don't make it super easy to work with you to help get people off those big parts where they're stuck.
And I think the other thing, what you're doing is when you're helping them, right, by chunking it up or by even proactively starting and giving them the head start right on something, without realizing it, you provide them value, because typically what happens is, like, especially with smaller businesses, you start with SEO and they're like, oh, but can you do our emails for us? Can you do this for us? Can you write content for us? Then all of a sudden they want me to be their full marketing. I'm like, I don't have enough hours. Like, I can't do it. I love you, but I can't, like, you can't become my one client, right? That's too much
Right.
risk. And I
Yeah.
have all these other commitments, but they want you to, because you're making things easy for them and you're becoming an integral part of their business, as opposed to just a hourly freelancer who, you know, who's doing a little bit. They see your expertise, they see your value, and you are a trusted partner. You're like a, you know, pseudo part of their team. And my best clients, that's what it ends up being, you know. And it's not me selling them services. It's not me pushing myself in. It's really just about trying to be there to augment them, to help them, to inspire them and keep them moving. And, you know, just as a natural progression. And that's when you get clients that you've had for 5-6 years as a freelancer.
And who refer you, like you
And who
said.
refer you. Yes.
The thing I think that gets missed in this conversation, whatever trips the freelancer agency consultant person up on this is, it doesn't help people get the result they're wanting. They're coming to you to delegate something so they get a result. And I
Yeah.
think when I hear you talk about what you're doing, you're trying to get them the result. Like, you're all about their outcome and result. And you want to make good money and you want to do good work and all that stuff along the way. But if we don't chunk it up, we don't coach it up, we don't make it easy for them, then they're not going to get the results. Or if they get the results, they're going to be grumble, grumble, grumble. And I don't refer people that I grumble, grumble, grumble about, by the way.
No. And, you know, you, like, the end of the day, you want to have a successful project, you know, whether it's a one-time project or it's something that's like an ongoing activity and it's a project within, you know, your retainer. And you have to treat them like they're a partner, and you need to be their trusted partner. And I never want to be just the freelancer. I never just want to be the SEO consultant. I want to be that augmentation to their team, and someone who that they can brainstorm with, even if it's not, you know, it's not even SEO. Because I think that that's where you develop that relationship. And it's all about the relationship. And if it's just a bunch of tasks or a big PDF they have to fill out or a bunch of content you want them to write, there's no relationship there. You're just a body, and a body doesn't stick around. A body doesn't get referred. A body doesn't augment services.
Act like a vendor, get treated like a vendor.
Yes. Yes.
Act like a partner.
Yes.
The expectation is get treated like a partner.
Yes.
I remember a client just like in the last year said, I'm going to get all our vendors together. I'd like you to come. And I was like, I'm not a vendor. I don't think of myself as a vendor. I'm a partner. Like, I'm not somebody that just checks the box, do this. I feel like an extension of your team.
Yeah. And that's the way most people refer to me, right? Like, I get invited to Christmas parties and things like that, you know, and it's because it's an extension of the team. I don't want to be the vendor. That's not the relationship that I want to have. And you're the same way, because I don't think it's good for me, and it's not good for them.
Okay. So, moral of the story, chunk it up, coach it up, make it easy for them, and you may get invited to a Christmas party. I'm Cory Miller, my co-chef Rebecca Gill at Digital Marketing Kitchen. This was a topic that was on our mind, and we want to share with you today about how to make your life better, how to make those big asks you're making of clients better, easier for all involved, so you get referred and you do all these magical things that Rebecca and I have talked about. I hope you'll come join us at digitalmarketingkitchen.com. We have every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central, 4 Eastern. We usually have something going on, whether it's a training and office hours. Conversations like these are happening all the time where we share our latest and greatest. All right, Rebecca, thanks. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.